Now you have people going amateur to world tour so that, you know, is there like a mindset shift or what's really the amateur versus pro difference? Obviously, besides the watch, do you see anything that's like mentally mindset? Or, I mean, it just seems like such a different world when it truly becomes their job, their profession. You know, what do athletes have to do to sort of excel in that environment?
I think one of the big difference I see is basically what you touched on there is they accept that it's my job. So everything you do and everything you think about is geared towards performance. So how did you sleep? I mean, there's so many wearables, there's so many ways to track, so many data women. But I think what I'm trying to say is once they realize it's their job, it's recovery, it's the right food, it's going to bed at a normal time and a consistent time. It's all these things that add up over time that make them realize and make them a better athlete on the whole. I think that's the switch that people make is like what you touched on when they realize it's their job and they're doing it full time. Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of amateurs, they're at school, at school for 6 hours a day or 7 hours a day. They've got an afternoon job that they have to go and do, which is absolutely, I totally agree with that. When you're a kid, you've got these other life, you want a social life, you've got mates you want to hang out with. So it's tying all these things in. And of course, something has to give eventually. And it probably comes in the recovery or the sleep or training hours. But just to repeat myself, I think it's when they click, this is my job, this is the direction I'm heading, everything then gears, your brain just gears towards, because you're not, and another thing I often talk about is with cycling, they think, okay, you go out at 9 o'clock, you're home by 3, you've done your training, day over. It doesn't work like that. Like the whole day, you're got these efforts that you're doing. Okay, training's training, whatever that entails. You come home, straight into the recovery or sauna. Recovery, am I recovering? While you're recovering, you're thinking, how did that today go? How did I feel? So then you evaluate and you might on your training peaks looking, how did I go up here? How was my, okay. So it's all consuming, like cycling or professional sport, I should say, not cycling. Professional sport is all consuming. You are thinking about, and then you go to bed or you have your dinner. You start thinking about what have I got for tomorrow's training. So then you're still thinking about your bloody training. It's like, and then you've got a race coming up. What's the demands of this race? What's my job? What's my role at this race? So it's really all consuming. I think that's one of the big things that trips a lot of the young fellas up is, this is hard. Like cycling is hard.
Comes back to what you said 30 minutes ago. It's got to be fun because otherwise that is just not sustainable. Like if you
Not
got to
sustainable.
enjoy that training, the recovery, thinking about the next day, thinking about how can I get back, how did I do on that climb? Like I think anybody who has a spouse in this sport, they're like, oh my God, will you shut up about cycling for a minute? It's like, it's hard
So
not
true.
to just keep it going. But that's a really good tip though that I think resonates even more for, I mean, most people listening to this are going to be amateurs for their life. And when you start to get into training, you're maybe like 3 years in. I've tried to tell people, I'm like, hey, you're still a newbie at this. Like, don't take that as a diss, but when you plateau a little bit and you're starting to search for like, how do I get better? That should excite you because you're really just getting going. Like, don't stop when it gets hard. Just embrace that and you'll be amazed where you're at in 7 years and 10 years and whatever. So I think that advice for the pros, future pros, is applicable to all of us. So
I agree. Yeah, no, you're spot on there, mate.